Welcome back to the College Disc Golf Podcast. My name is John Baker. I'm your director at College Disc Golf. We're here for episode 2, History 102. We're joined today by Alan Kane, former College Disc Golf General Manager and Tournament Director of the National Collegiate Disc Golf Championships. Thanks for joining us today, Alan.
Yeah, man. Thanks. I'm happy to be here, John. Appreciate it.
Yeah, happy to have you on. It's been a long time. We're just really glad you could join us in the college disc golf realm once again. Why don't you give us a little bit of history about yourself and a little bit of your background that brought you to where you were in position to manage the college disc golf national championships?
Yeah, sure. So I started playing disc golf when I was 10, way back in 1992. And kind of just, it was something we did once a month, every once in a while. And then fast forward, uh, you know, 10 plus years, I was living in Richmond, Virginia, and started to get more into disc golf, playing all the time. I actually never played tournaments, but I started my own disc golf company, Throw This Disc Golf, and I was selling discs online and in person at weekly leagues. It wasn't until I moved to Columbia, South Carolina, and started going to school at USC for sport and entertainment management that I got into organizing disc golf and tournaments. So that's when I heard about the college disc golf championships, or the National Collegiate Disc Golf Championships, and started a team at the University of South Carolina. And I had known that we had played in the inaugural one, but there was no official team at the school. So I went to the student union, started a new a club, and gathered together, posted flyers all around the school and at the local courses. Gathered together 3 guys, and we traveled down to North Augusta for the 2009 Collegiate Championships.
Gotcha. So 2009 was your first year as a player. Okay.
Yeah, that was my first year as a player, and we all know how great of a promoter Pete is. So when we showed up that first year, that was actually the year of the billboard too. So when we drove up to the Hippodrome and saw that big billboard and everything that Pete has set up with the red and white tents, we were just wowed. Everybody, you had that feeling like you're a part of something big, and obviously had a great time playing, and also I just wanted to help make it as big as I could.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that insight. I have to say that we've worked together a lot, and for you to just play and not help, that was probably a unique experience for you. I always saw you as stepping up to be the volunteer, the helper as much as possible. So I'd imagine early on you were probably even offering to help then. Was that the case then?
Yeah, it was. So in episode 1, Pete mentioned the captains committee of the seven captains. So
Yeah.
of course I was one of those 7 captains in 2009, and I think that just that little sliver of a window of opportunity to be involved on the organization level is probably what led to me getting further involved, being part of that captain's committee and making those calls. Put me in a position to help out with the tournament. And following the 2009 championships, I called Pete and I said, hey, how can I help? Can I help with communicating with the teams, organizing the registration? And he of course let me help. And Patrick, his son, had been doing some of that too. So me and him worked together, and we ended up, I think, signing up 26 teams for the 2010 championships.
Wow, that's a pretty big step up from the first few years. It seems like you were really able to elevate it. To let the people at home know, your style, Pete. We mentioned Pete as a promoter. You talked about seeing the billboard when you came up, and that had to be special. But I think we have to really highlight. Your area of expertise is, I would describe it as an incredible organizer. And Pete's a great idea guy, and he can come up with some incredibly interesting things. But really, when it comes down to putting it on paper and making it happen, I can't think of anyone who would be a better teammate for Pete in that sense, Alan. I mean, you are like the organizer. I have to give all my spreadsheet knowledge credit to you for sure. Like you are the man, and Pete really needed you. And how do you feel like you filled into that role? Do you feel like it was like a natural transition for you, or because to me it seems like everything Pete was missing, you were able to answer. You were able to be there and fill all those gaps in for him.
Yeah, I mean, event logistics is its own world. I'm still in the events world, and I think it does come naturally to me. It's something that I've been doing since back in my restaurant days when I was a chef at this restaurant where we held banquets and weddings and corporate parties and stuff. And I ran all the food for all of those events, and that's where I first got my foray into making sure that all the different pieces were ready and in place when those events were happening.
Gotcha. So you did some catering type gigs and event stuff, and on the food side, and after you got done with that, you said, "Okay, I want more." All right, Alan. I think that says a lot about your personality there.
It is. I think being an events person, it's either for you or it's not. There's a lot of pressure. It's always high stakes. There's no pushing the deadline. Releasing new software, if you're a software developer or something, you could always just, hey, I'm delaying the release, or I'm delaying this. But when you book an event and you got people showing up, especially the collegiate championships, you got all these teams showing up from thousands of miles away, putting in all of the savings that they've had throughout the year to get to that event. Like, you have to be ready. You got to make sure that whatever happens, that they have a great experience. And so
Yeah.
it is, you're either an events person or you're not.
Yeah, and that's true. You nailed it on the head there, talking about pressure. And we feel that every day here at College Disc Golf to put on the best event for the players that we can. And you nailed it on the head. I mean, they're working very hard. They're fundraising. A lot of them are paying out of pocket, and we want to put on the best experience for them possible. That is a lot of pressure there. Talking about pressure though for a second, I'm glad you mentioned that. What do you feel like were the earliest pressure moments for you? What do you feel like were the earliest moments where you're like, whoa, this is something serious taking on. I got to do this to get it done. What were those early pressure moments for you? What really sticks out?
Um, Let me think about that. I'm not sure that anything hit me that it was like, whoa, I really gotta uh, do something. I guess it probably was maybe that the players meeting in 2010.
Yeah.
While I wasn't the TD, I was involved in the players meeting and greeting the players. Um, and I think that was the first time that I was talking to all of the people that had done all the work to get there. And so maybe it was either writing my notes for preparing for that, or that first time having to speak in front of all the players that were expecting greatness from this tournament.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. I need to share a little bit of story myself there. When we're talking about getting up on stage or whatever it is and talking to all those people, I just want to let you know you probably did a better job than I did. For the people at home who don't necessarily know, Innova has been an incredible supporter of the tournament and was the main supporter back then. And my first time doing that job, Alan, I have to share that I did the tagline for Discraft when I was talking about Innova. So I'm pretty sure you didn't do as bad as I did your first year there. But yeah, so thanks for sharing that story with us. So talking about 2010, you mentioned that you weren't the TD then, but you say that was like the year you were that was your unofficial first year as TD. So give us a little rundown then. What was your role like in 2010?
I think for the most part, it was pre-event. That was the communication.
Mm,
I think I set up a Facebook group to be able to give players an opportunity to have a point of contact to just get in touch. And there's especially back then, it was a lot about, hey, I'm a student, I played disc golf, but I don't have a team. How do I do that? And so I could help them. Like, here's what you need. You need 4 players. You can actually play with 3, because back then we dropped that 4 score, so we let
right.
teams play with 3. So getting them those details of what they needed, where were they going to stay when they got here, help them. You can raise money, as much money as you can. If you can't, we do have some accommodations to be able to camp out, all of that type of stuff.
Gotcha.
It was
Okay.
really that pre-event communication, getting them the information they needed uh, to plan what they needed to get to North Augusta.
Yeah, that's crucial information, and that definitely helps the teams out for sure. So moving on from 2010, we're gonna react here to a video here in a minute from 2016. But can you fill in those gaps for us? I just don't want to jump right to 2016. I want to talk about some of the pains of growth there, because as you mentioned, we were how many players do you think we had in 2010?
2010, we probably had uh, right at 100 players.
Nice. So you were able to take it and grow it 300% by 2016, and you had 400 players then. So why don't you tell us a little bit about, fill in those gaps for us? What was it like transitioning from 100 players to 400 players?
Sure, the evolution
Yeah.
of how we went from just Pete starting it in 2007 with 6 teams, um, through to I guess the next big step was 2011, that year that I did start to become the official TD.
Hmm.
That's also when we started having qualifiers. That was one of the big steps that I took was, hey, how can we get more teams? We have active teams all across the country, but how can we get more teams involved in all of these regions? The Southeast has always been the most active region. I think that's for a couple of reasons, because there's more teams, there's more density of colleges and universities in the Southeast and up the East Coast. But also, that's where the tournament began, so it was easier to access the NCDGC because it was right there in the Southeast. So if we had qualifiers in all of these regions, more teams could get to that first tournament, get started, build their team, build funding to be able to travel to uh, North Augusta for the collegiate championships. So we had, I can't remember, I think it was maybe 7 or 8 events that first year, and we really jumped up the number of teams in 2011 as well. I think we ended up with 36 teams, uh, and had a fantastic year managing all those teams from first flight to second flight to the championship division, and then going through just a steady build. I think through 2012, 13, 14, 15, 16. One thing we started to have to do at the Hippodrome was build more courses, have
More
more
courses.
availability. Yeah, I mean, that one of Pete's goals was, more teams, more teams. Let's get more people here. Let's see how big we can make this. And I think we peaked in 2015 with the most players and most teams, and that's when we actually made an adjustment from 2015 to 16, to keep the championship division at a certain number. I think it was 40. It was our max, because that's how many teams we could fit at one time on the 220 hole courses.
Yeah, I remember that. And one year we had to even do a cut. We did more than 40 invites, but we did a cut. And that creates that has its positives and negatives. You want
Yeah,
the
we had our had the qualifiers throughout the year that you could qualify, but similar to USDGC, we kept two spots open. The last two spots to the championship division we kept open, and teams that didn't qualify throughout the year still had a chance to come to the tournament and participate and have a chance to get into the championship. And if they didn't, they could still participate in first flight and second flight. And of course, we know the first flight is a qualifier in itself for the following year. So I think we ended up with 6 teams playing for those two spots that year, and 2 teams were really happy and got into the championship division, and the other 4 teams were really happy and got to have an awesome week at the
yeah.
collegiate championships.
Wow, wow. Well, thanks for telling us that story, Alan. I actually didn't know about the teams, they were qualifying last minute. That's pretty cool that we adopt like the Monday qualifier style of the USDGC. That's pretty cool there. I'm glad you touched on the qualifiers, though. I just have to say that was a brilliant idea. I mean, we would not be where we are now without that qualifier idea. That was huge. That. I will have to say that the ground roots growth that we see as a result of those competitions is the foundation for why collegiate disc golf grew. I mean, you nailed it on the head. That the year after the qualifiers started, y'all had 30 something teams. I mean, that's incredible. And that really shows what happens when you have these, qualifier events that teams can actually travel and attend. And I'm going to use California as an example, and they don't have to travel all the way across the country to come play nationals. That's their regional competition there. I think that's huge. And that I will say was a lot of the driving force behind the growth. And it's something that I've tried to implement now with our conference play. So I'm trying to bring teams, that are close together to have that regular league type competition more often. And I just really have to say thank you for building and establishing that groundwork with the qualifiers. That was huge. So
Yeah, no, it's great to get everybody involved across the country, and I think you all continue to put it in the players court, like give them the opportunities to get more involved, to build. They're building those qualifier tournaments and building their conferences and regions. So I think it's great to have the players involved at that level too.
yeah, that is really good to have them involved, and we love the growth that we see from them. They're leaders, and if we provide if we enable them to grow, then that's everything we want from collegiate disc golf. When we see these student leaders step up and really embrace those leadership roles as tournament directors, as conference leaders, as whatever it is, if it's just the club president, then that still takes leadership and that takes work. And we appreciate that those students are able to step up and grow in that way. I mean, you're looking at a number one example right here, and a lot of my growth is a result of your toolage. So thank you for that, Alan.
Yeah, no, it's awesome experience for them too. I mean, these are people that are going to go into all walks of life: doctors, lawyers, engineers. They're not all going to be come disc golf tour players or tournament directors or go into that, but they are going to use those leadership skills and talents that they learn as they build these teams. They're going to have listed on their resume, they were the president of this club and they organized this. And it's just it's good experience for our personal lives too. I know it definitely ended up on my resume as I grew in the disc golf industry.
Yeah. You nailed it on the head there, really, Alan. And I want to move us on to this reaction video that we're doing. So why don't you set us up a little bit for that? So here we are. We're at the 2016 National Collegiate Disc Golf Championships. Cody Vitale there for Here and There Disc Golf, now working with Frolfer podcast. And those guys were awesome. And Cody came out and filmed for us that year. Why don't you set us up a little bit for the 2016 National Collegiate Disc Golf Championships All-Star Showdown? We have the best collegiate players versus what I'm going to call the dream team. We have Nate Sexton, Paul McBeth, Jeremy Koling, and who's the other one that I'm forgetting about there? Oh, duh, Ricky Wysocki. How could I forget about him? But of course, yeah. So why don't you set us up for this leading up to this round?
Yeah, sure. That this was one of the most exciting parts of the tournament this year. We've always had some of the top tour players interested in college disc golf. We've had Ken Climo at the collegiate championships, Barry Schultz. I can remember a couple of times, as a player being on the course, and there's Barry or Ken, you know, looking down the fairway watching me tee off, and that was
Ooh.
adding some definitely adding some pressure, but some notoriety to the event itself. And so we had this idea that we could have, now that we had this 4-person tournament play with the team doubles format, that we could have these all-stars, these people, some of these celebrity players that were coming to watch the event actually participate and be a part of it. And so we took the top 4 finishers from the individual standings and pit them against this dream team of the top 2 players in the world, and they're still the top 2, or really close to the top 2, with Paul and Ricky, and then some great top 10 players in Jeremy Koling and Nate Sexton as well.
Yeah, we were very fortunate. I mean, at the time they were huge players, and everybody knew who they were, and the names are great. But little did we know that these guys would eventually, become the 2 driving forces between at the highest level of our sport. I mean, then they were battling back and forth, but if only we could have, known then who we had, the level of play that we were witnessing. It was pretty special. I have to say, we were very privileged and grateful to experience that.
Yeah, I mean, I think they were all hitting their peak at that time. At that
Very good
year,
point.
it was everybody was hitting, beginning their reign across the disc golf world.
For sure. So let's dive right in there. We have Here and There Disc Golf presenting the All Star College Disc Golf Showdown. Oh man, and I almost want. Oh wow, these T signs. Oh my gosh, do you remember designing these? Woo! At the Hippodrome, so on the Old Glory course that Alan's standing on here on hole 1, we had 3 tees on most holes, and there were 20 holes on that course. So we had 60 tee signs alone just for that course, and that was only one of 6 courses we had at the time there.
Oh yeah, every year we would do a retool of all the T signs too, and you definitely got our hands dirty in design software, and learning the ins and outs of art design.
Yeah, we did. So teeing off, yeah.
Speaking of the ins and outs, this I believe we didn't play this
Woo.
as an island,
No, yeah, we did not. We did not play this as Island. Yeah.
but I think all players end up coming pretty close to hitting the basket and staying well within those timbers.
Woo. Oh my gosh, that was 2 close ace runs there. Wow. So let's talk about the format a little bit. So for people who aren't necessarily familiar with the collegiate, unique 4-person alternating shot format, do you want to give a shot breaking it down for us?
Sure. Yeah, the team doubles format was another evolution within the tournament. It's not the way we've played since the beginning. We used to play just alternate shot, and had 2 scores from each team, from each school, that would count towards the total. And that's how we used to get 8 people on the tee and have those teams playing against each other, but it was still 2 scores.
Wow. Okay.
It wasn't until we came up with the new format of playing alternate shot between each partner set, but best score between those 2, or taking the best shot between those 2 each time. They became really that single score, that one team experience traversing the court.
Ah, okay, that's good to know. I thought that format. I didn't realize the alternating shot keep the best score format was the one that we originally went with. Okay, so for this format, the four-person team splits into two sets of pairs, and then one pair tees off on every odd hole, and the other pair tees off on every even hole. And then once the odd pair tees off, the even pair plays from the better of the two lies. So the odd team, we saw here two collegiate players. That was Brian Murphy and Clint Kugler teeing off. And then now we have their doubles partners, their other team, the alternates, who are teeing off on the even holes. They are now, or excuse me, on the odd holes, they are now putting it in. So, yeah, it only takes one putt to make it too. So it's really alternating shot, best shot doubles is the way to describe it. But it can be a little bit of a confusing format.
Yeah, it's definitely a little bit of logistics and explaining to get started, but it's really easy to follow once you're on the course and you understand that you're gonna tee off on all these, and then it's alternate shot from there. I think the players get used to it pretty quick. I don't think we ever had any issues with people playing the wrong way or anything like that.
Yeah, I can't remember any experiences we've had like that. Now let's talk about that drive from Sexton, and then Paul McBeth just comes up and parks it as well. I have to say that we battled countless times on this course. You and I had a rolling, tab of who was winning, beating who. We're not going to talk about where the score ended up after all those years, but we had a
Yeah, we
rolling
don't have to talk
tab.
about that out here.
And we played this hole hundreds of times, and to watch these guys just walk up and absolutely park it was a little bit intimidating, I have to say.
Yeah, Lover's Lane, it's a little bit of pressure, especially after this tee got built up a little bit more and added some height to it and essentially lowered the ceiling. That those first set of trees, where you got to pick between the two fairways is really tough. It's like they're like 6 foot gaps, about 20 foot away from you, and it's so much pressure because it is such a short hole. You feel like you must to it. Here's Brian. Is he going to go through the gap?
Yeah.
He sure did. He split the putt right between the lattice.
Yep. And that's Brian Murphy from Ferris State. He was a very, very stout competitor, I'll have to say. We had many battles there. My former teammate, Clint Kugler, otherwise known as Kugler Pie or the Coug, is a great putter and player as well. We were coming off a very strong performance that year, and I was happy to see two of our players playing on the college all-star team. We had Dustin Perry as well as Clint Kugler here. Oof.
Dustin Perry was. See, I think the four people were Dustin Perry, who's playing for South Carolina Aiken, Clint Kugler playing for Augusta State, Brian Murphy playing for Ferris State, and Justin Lammers.
Exactly.
And I can't remember what school what he was playing for, but definitely a good collection of talent on that side.
Yes, very, very strong for sure. And we have to talk about the pro team choices too, because when we're talking about strategy for the alternating shot team doubles, you almost want one forehand player teamed up with a backhand player. And it seems like the pros were able to make that happen. Wow, what a shot from Jeremy. Oh my gosh. And do a sidearm dominant player matched with a backhand dominant and a forehand and backhand on each pair. So that's pretty crucial when we're talking about strategy for the team play.
Oh yeah, these courses were definitely tough, and this was Old Glory. So it had quite the mixture of forehand versus backhand shots, tight tunnel shots, um, and of course a lot of OB in a lot of places where you got to be careful.
Yeah. Lots of OB, I'll have to say. This was probably one of the signature holes on the course, I'll have to say. Mount Kuhar. This was a very interesting green and basket placement. I mean, at the time, you weren't seeing very many elevated baskets like this, so this was pretty unique in the disc golf realm.
Oh yeah, Mount Kuhar, the whole design changed quite a bit over the years, and it ended up playing it from a bunch of different angles. But the mount was always the same. That green is just horrendous. It adds so much pressure when you're putting uphill, even from 12, 15 feet away, because
Yeah.
if you miss, if you're just a little bit off, it could kick up and roll all the way down to the base.
Yeah, and it can and it will. There's OB right behind the basket too on the upper side that if you're running it from the bottom, it's very likely going to go out of bounds. And I think that says a lot about the Pete's course design style, you know. It was the mental battle you had. Am I going to lay it up? Am I going to go for it? Am I going back and forth, or you know, what's my game plan here? Am I sticking to it? You know, I feel like there's a lot of questions you ask yourself as you're walking to your lie here.
And these guys were just playing. It was a 9-hole match, and they
Yeah.
were playing just against one team. So I think they were probably being a little bit more aggressive on these holes than they would naturally be.
Yeah, they were. And that's
Here's
and
Clint
that's a
from 50.
yeah, this is a sweet spot. I think he might have been feeling the pressure a little bit because this is usually Clint's tasty range. Oh, he was online. Dang, just a little low. Wow. Oh, this is that perfect putt we were talking about. This is a perfect example.
The pros couldn't get that close to see if they can get up and make it in the basket. It looked like that stayed short of the OB, so probably safe on the next shot. But does Ricky make it in? Does he cash it?
I'm glad Cody shot it from this angle because that really highlights how much elevation change.
And there's that roll we were talking about.
Oh, shout out to the Oregon team over there. We got some ducks in the background. Heck yeah. Wow.
Definitely been one of the best teams involved in college disc golf throughout the years in University of Oregon. I think they were the first school to send multiple teams to the championship, and that's saying something that they were coming from all the way across the country.
Yeah, that's saying a lot. Wow. I didn't know that fact about them. That's pretty cool. And they brought, were they one of the first teams to have a coach? Because I know Dave Feldberg stepped up and really did a lot for them. Was that one of the first times we saw a coach come to, or had that already been done?
Yeah, that and the California State University Monterey Bay with Merle
Yeah.
Whitwood, the legend, has also had quite the teams, or quite the set of teams, and brought along a coach.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, I have to pause it right here for 1 second. I have to tell a little bit of a story here. So it hasn't been obvious in the videos so far, but you're walking around with a megaphone at this point. And I don't know if you remember this, but I was walking down the fairway with my partner at the time, and I didn't realize we were in the firing zone. I was just trying to stay ahead of the crowd and get a good view for her and for myself, and not necessarily be in the way per se. But we're just enjoying our casual little stroll, and next thing I hear, "Ah, Baker, get out of the way!" And you're yelling at me.
Yeah, that whole area is out of bounds, but it's definitely the fairway. This is one of the great spectator holes on the course, throwing over all of that OB, both from the dramatic play of the hole to the view.
Yes. And then also, we have our Hippodrome Cadillac on the left side of the frame there. That golf cart, man, we drove that thing all over creation there in that facility. We had a lot of fun there.
Oh yeah.
Man, wow. This is bringing me back, Alan. I hope it's doing the same for you.
Oh yeah, it's always fun. I mean, college disc golf is one of the best experiences of my life, both from the player and the organizing side, and watching it, talking about it. It's always a good time.
Yeah, it is. So how much input would you say you had on the course design at this time? I know Pete was handling a lot of that at the time, but what would you say your input on that was then?
Oh yeah, Pete's always been the course designer of those hippodrome holes, back all the way back to the 2006 Worlds when he first put the course in. He's a great collaborator, great teammate, and he let me give my input and voice what I thought about holes. And sometimes he gave me freedom to pick the holes, but he always had that ultimate decision and always kept his Pete May signature on everything. So I mean, we definitely did plenty of walkthroughs, talked about how it would affect the play, and come up with the best solution we thought for each course and really each hole. Um, each course at the Hippodrome had its own personalities, and Pete kept that in mind as he designed the courses, and making sure that things fit within those courses. And Old Glory, I think, was that was really the signature course at the Hippodrome, and really exemplified Pete May's style. And here we have Treasure Island with the treacherous rock border around and the small pond in front.
And this was an Allen Green. This you had to land it clean, or you were going to the drop zone.
Yep.
Ooh, that was tasty. Oh my gosh.
What a shot from Nate. I believe this hole, I think the college players had drawn within one uh, on on the previous hole, and came into this thinking that they were gonna take back the lead or tie it up. And with Nate just parking it like that, he kind of showed why they're at the level of play that they are.
Yeah, that'll intimidate you for sure. Somebody walks up and you all week you've been using both your teammates to put it on the green, and he straight up parks it on the first shot. Wow, Justin, that was a very solid shot from Justin as well. Man.
Yep, answered the pressure. He's gonna birdie. They're gonna birdie too. And look at this guy, Dustin. His you talked about having forehand versus backhand players. This guy's forehand is so smooth, and of course, he's gonna throw backhand.
You would build it up like that.
Hopefully, we get to see him throw another shot on this. See, maybe he should have thrown forehand. He threw it over. Maybe it's because Justin was parked that he was putting a little ace run on that.
Yeah, I have to say that. And we touched on Pete's unique style, and I think, wow, if we're talking about 3 holes in a row to really showcase this unique style, I think this encompasses it pretty well with the third hole in our trifecta here of the bullpen, which was a unique green to say the least.
Yeah, this one definitely is great. Those metal horse corrals, they look like it's kind of cheesy, but what they did for the golf was really awesome. It definitely defined a green, a space where you had to be in there to feel comfortable with a putt. If we could have executed that with I don't know, a nice hedge or something, I think it would have had a different perspective for most players, because just being able to put it on that 25-foot circle, within that circle, not having to putt around or through those bars, really set that green and your shot apart. And being outside, you could still chip it in, make that long putt. You just had to get up and over or right through the corral.
Yeah.
And it was really exciting when people did make those putts.
Yeah, for sure. And you were talking about being outside of it, and I think it's up to you. When you're about 20, 30 feet, I realize that you could go over it pretty comfortably there. If you're back a distance from it, and this is where Nate Sexton is at the moment, and he is trapped up. You mentioned it too, that the collegiate players were making a bit of a charge here, and they had brought it within one. And I remember this shot very well, and I will have to say that if you want to talk about demoralization or a dagger, this might be it right here.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah, sorry, spoiler alert. I couldn't help it. I just get this shot. Man, this is a great shot right here, and to see this executed in the moment, really, we got a loud cheer. That's all I'm saying. It was pretty cool to see. Wow.
Man, and what you can see here in this clip too is the wind. The wind is always big at the Hippodrome, being at the top of the hill. And I think now you can see those trees are just all over the place.
Yeah, they are whipping up there, and they usually are. Augusta's not known for being windy, but that area in Augusta being the highest elevation was a magnet for the wind. Oh wow, Dustin, that was close. See, Dustin shows you really how hard it was, because at that point we had played that course a lot. We had a lot of experience on the bullpen hole, and to still struggle making the 20-footer there really shows how challenging that was. It was a true bunker for the
Oh
sport of
yeah,
disc golf.
they were 10 feet closer than Nate was, but they probably had a tougher putt because they couldn't get up and over like he could.
Yeah.
And here we are with the bell tower.
Bell tower. This hole had a few interesting renditions over the years. I have to say, it was the hangman hole for a little while, the graveyard even. Yep, it was pretty cool evolution of this hole, and I have to say, I like this tee position pretty cool. The way the cedars are framing up the basket position, this was a very good location for
Yeah, I
this tee.
think this was definitely the best iteration of this hole. Still kept in that personality of that hanging basket, and and having that bell tower there, but kind of got away from a little bit of the novelty of that out of bounds graveyard and the gallows that were the hangman.
Yes, I like that political analysis of it. Yes, it was interesting. Oh man, yes, great example of the challenging putts that are created here too. We talked. I mentioned bunkers a second ago, and that's really what Pete was able to create on this hole and the last hole were bunkers for disc golf. And if you're on the left side or right side of the screen, you're really blocked off. You're in the wrong location. You haven't put it in the landing zone.
Yeah, this was great. There's also OB that bottlenecked about 40, 50 feet in front of the basket that made you make the choice of either going for the green or kind of just laying up and playing for par. Um, and then these cedars that Pete planted, when those first went in, they were 5 foot tall, and over the years they grew and grew with the hole and really made it what it is. As you can see, Ricky trying to put around the tree and the poles, can't quite get it, but they'd already taken a two-stroke lead. Going into the last two holes. There's one more after this, but yeah, what Pete was able to do with course design and having those bunkers, we actually had a disc golf course designers seminar out at the Hippodrome. The PDGA ran that course design program at the IDGC, and one of the field trips that we took was out to the Hippodrome, and we really explored what Pete was able to do on this course, and the famous the legend Dan Roddick, PDGA number 3, was part of that, and he helped. He kind of explained. He coined the term close trapping. That's what Pete was able to do, and what it did was it defined spots that you should be on the green to make your putt easier. So like on the corral hole, you had to be within there. There was holes where the left side of the green was definitely way more beneficial than the right side. And another one coming into the last hole, I think these college players needed an ace to tie it up in a par from the All-Stars. So Clint put a nice run on it, a little bit short. Brian Murphy, and he was an individual champion as well as a multiple time team champion.
Yes, Brian Murphy was a very solid competitor. My first memory of Brian is we were heading to St. Louis to play in the Gateway Collegiate Classic at the time. And I read about this course in a cave, and I said, wow, we have to play there. I have to do something there. So I reached out and coordinated some ragtag doubles, just the Friday before the tournament, hoping a team or two would show up. And Fair State showed up, and Brian Murphy and Sam Merdeza came and played against us. And our first time meeting Brian Murphy was playing, it was supposed to be glow golf in a cave, but Brian didn't have a glow disc and he didn't have a light, so he was just throwing his pro wraith, which the best way I can describe it is echolocation, because he only knew where it was because he heard it tinging off the walls. But he never lost a disc, and they whooped up on us that night too, I have to say. So, yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, Brian Murphy was a great competitor, and we had a lot of good battles over the year, and I have to say he was a great person as well. I really loved competing with him and sharing the card with him as much as I was able to. Oh man, drop zone putt right here. Was there any doubt?
No, No, they knew that it was going in.
Yeah, they did.
And there was no pressure. They'd already won, even though they went out of bounds.
Wow, Alan, well, great job putting this together. This was really special experience for the players of the time, and I know that they had to feel awesome sharing the course with these guys.
It stayed safe, but yeah, even this little 15-footer, it adds pressure. Looking at that water behind it.
Yep, sure does.
Again, another Pete May course design signature is having those risky putts, where it's definitely a nice level putt. Basket's right there, but got to think about the OB and the water behind you.
Yeah, you do. I thought for a second you were going to say the leaning basket, but I like the water angles a little better.
Oh man, neither of them could make it.
Oh, that's challenging. Well, Alan, thank you so much for joining us for this video. I really appreciate you reacting to this with us. And we didn't discuss this beforehand, but I have one more video to show you. Yeah, we didn't.
Oh.
Yeah, we didn't talk about this video at all. But I think you know what I'm showing now. We have Simon. Yeah, we have Simon Lizotte here playing guts with us at the player party, and Alan's on the mic at this moment right there. He was on the microphone, but before long, you'll see Alan standing. Yep, there he is, getting a high five, thinks he did something. Let's see what happens when Simon gets the disc in his hand and starts bearing down on Alan. Now, we had a radar gun out there. The guy in the green, I believe, was kneeling down. And if I remember correctly, Alan, you might be able to correct me here, but it was 97, 93 miles per hour on these shots.
Yeah, no, I think that the guts officials were out there, and I think that Simon set a record for the fastest thrown guts disc.
Yeah, I believe that's correct too, now that you say that. And he was humming it. There were multiple ones that were broken on people's hands. I mean, it was pretty crazy experience to see. Wow. So yeah, here we are, and Simon, that's you in the white hat right there to the left of the pole. And I'm just gonna go ahead and spoiler alert this one too. The disc is going right towards your face, right? Oh man, wow. Okay, I missed one. I think it was actually the next shot. Sorry about that, y'all. But all right, here we go. It was this shot right here.
Yeah, guts is intense. This is definitely one of the best nights of
Whoa.
college golf.
I think that was a self-preservation reaction there. That's the only
I was trying to catch that.
I know you were. Were you able to catch any of them that night? Do you remember?
I was able to catch some. I don't think I was able to catch any of Simon's. There's definitely some other great players out there, but guts is fun, and the tour players, the top tour players, always enjoy throwing the discs, but they shy away from being on the catching side. That's for sure.
I don't blame them there, especially after knowing how my hand felt on those 60, 70 mile per hour throws. I couldn't imagine 93. You're a bigger man than I am. Yeah. Well, Alan, I think that's a great point for us to end. And I just want to say thank you again for having us on. For me, I just have to say too that I owe a lot of my professional growth to you and the toolage that I was able to really receive from you when I worked under you through this time. I mean, when we talked about, you stepping on as unofficial TD in 2010, I came on a few years after that, 2016, 15 maybe, and you really took me under your wing, and I just want to take this opportunity to say thank you for that and everything you really taught me, and I stepped me up to be the TD and director that I am now, and without your toolage, I can say I wouldn't be where I am, so thank you kindly, Alan, for that.
Yeah, no problem, man. Thank you for your dedication and commitment, both then, being a partner and helping us out and making the tournament the best that it could be, and now and carrying on the growth of collegiate disc golf and continue to provide these awesome experiences for the players.
Man, thank you so much, Alan. Wow. I really appreciate you saying that. And to everyone listening, thank you so much for joining in to the College Disc Golf Podcast. This is episode 2, History 102. So long and see you later.